that if I wasn't making money of something, it meant that I wasn't good at it. Or worse, that I was wasting my time, because we live in a world that's obsessed with monetization and metrics and marketable skills. It is almost revolutionary to make something, to create something just for the sole purpose of making it, you know? That pressure to turn every hobby into a side hustle is the standard. Make money doing what you love, they say. And at first that sounds incredible. It sounds like freedom. It sounds fun. But it is not that, not all the time. It starts to feel like a trap real quick. When we were younger, creativity was instinctual. I didn't think about whether what I made was good or not. I just made it. I didn't care if anyone saw it. I'd fill journals with stories and made up little characters, or make movies with my friends that never really made it to anywhere. Back then, making things was for fun and not for performance or metrics or money. I really miss that. It was a great time. So the shift happened slowly. Social media. Wow, again, here I always say something about social media, and not that I hate it. I don't. I love social media in some aspects, but I'm like a granny. Oh, social media. Social media, that's like the worst thing that can happen to a generation. Anyways, social media made it easy to share, and further sharing made it easier to crave validation. Then came the branding and the content plans and the rise and grind mindset and hustle culture. And we were all told that we could go viral, build a following, monetize our talents, our hobbies, our life. The minute you post your art, your song, your poem, your painting, whatever, your film, someone could immediately ask, do you sell these? Or you should make a shop. And I know it's meant as a compliment and as an encouragement, but over time it can become sort of an expectation. And you start to think to yourself that if it isn't making you money or profit, it's not worth doing. But creativity doesn't have to be profitable to be valuable. Not everything you make needs to be productive. Sometimes the most important things we make emotionally, spiritually, psychologically are the ones that no one sees. Maybe a sketch that only exists in your journal, or a melody that you hum to yourself, or maybe a video that you shot and never get yourself to edit. And these are still valid acts of creation. It still means that you're a creative person. Even if you don't share that, they still count as creation, because creativity isn't just about output, it's about connection with yourself, with your curiosity, with your sense of wonder. And main thing is, it is yours, not anyone else's. So you don't have to share every single piece of creation that you do and everything that you make. You don't have to share it. When we tie creativity solely to profit, we lose the sense of wonder. We begin by monetizing ourselves and our actions before we've even started. We ask ourselves, would this perform well? Is this on brand? What's the hook? Will this go viral? And while these questions can be helpful and so important for professionals, they can also become paralyzing for someone who's just trying to explore and create and have fun. The thing is, when your mind is fixated on what sells, it is hard to assess what's real and what your mind needs. I've gone through phases where I stopped creating entirely because I just didn't see the point. Because what was the point if no one saw it or if it wasn't making me money? That mindset made me creatively constipated, and I was stuck, always second guessing, always comparing my work and creative pursuits, and I was surely exhausted by the invisible pressure to turn every idea into a business pitch. So I had to remember how to create without judgment. So I just started creating stuff for no purpose that would turn it into a business or revenue, but for my own pleasure and enjoyment. In that process, you find something wild and real again, you know? And that feeling you get when you're so into the thing that you forget what time is it, and you forget that time is even passing by. This isn't a video about quitting your job to become a full-time artist. Not at all. This is a video about protecting your creative self from a world that constantly tries to monetize it. It's about separating out space to make things that don't need to be seen, liked, or sold, because that space is sacred, as we all know by now. And honestly, the more we protect that space, the more creatively alive we feel. And ironically, that's often when our best work comes out and the best ideas come to us. When we just let them, you know? Not everything you do has to be for a reason, and not every hour of the day has to be optimized. Rest is also part of the process. You know, as they say, rest is the ultimate remedy. So is failure, so is silence. And creativity lives and thrives in the in-between moments. That's when the good stuff happens and comes to you. The strange, dreamy, delicious stuff that could never be planned. It just shows up. But again, only if you make the room for it, you know. Making room sadly means turning off your phone sometimes. It might mean writing something in note, never showing a soul, but it isn't failure. It is devotion. It's still teaching you something, okay? It's choosing to cherish the part of you that creates just to feel something and to know oneself. And yes, some of us want to turn our creative pursuits into a job. And yes, that is valid and incredible when you have the opportunity to do that. But when your art is also your source of income, you have to work twice as hard to protect that original spark and that enthusiasm that you have for the art, for the thing that you create. And it is extremely difficult to do that. You need to set creative boundaries. You still need to find time where that is a hobby and not a job. And you need to let yourself be bad at things, because the second your worth gets tied to performance, it stops being your creative expression and starts being a brand. So here's a much needed reminder. You're allowed to make things that no one sees and no one understands. You're allowed to be obsessed with a story that no one reads. You're allowed to take 6 months to finish a project. You're allowed to write, you're allowed to sing, you're allowed to create and start stuff over and over again without it ever leaving your room. Not you, but the art. The people who make the most interesting art and work are never the ones that are trying to please the algorithm. They are the ones who make something that's real and true, even if it's weird and off-putting, especially if it's weird. The weirdest stuff is the best. Look at different fashion designers and film directors and artists. The ones who made weird and real stuff were the coolest and the most successful because it came from them, not from what was trending right now, and not because they were trying to please others. So go make something that's beautiful or pointless, if you want to, of course. But I highly recommend trying to create stuff not only for the profit and for money. Okay? Believe me, it's worth it. It's so worth it. And also, don't think that because you haven't created something in months, even years, that you're not a creative person anymore. You still are. You just had a break. You just maybe had a creative slump. That's the same with like reading books. I sometimes get into a reading slump and don't read for months, and then I can't come back to it and I enjoy it. Sometimes you need to take a step back from stuff and come back, and then when you come back, the stuff is even better and you have this newfound joy and enjoyment and energy for that stuff again, for the activity, for the creation. So yeah, that's everything from me today. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed it, because I truly did. And if you want to check out anything other, then check out my channel. I have some other cool, I don't know if cool, but some other stuff like these deep dives, and I'd be glad, and I hope you have a good time, whatever time it is. And thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!